This is Minecraft's moon, and this is also Minecraft's moon. At least it is an update 23WA or B, and it's weird here. Everything is constantly moonwalking, you suffocate unless you're constantly eating this lunar cheese, and you can even jump 5 whole blocks. And I'm going to be spending the next 100 days transforming this lunar wasteland into a lush oasis. Also, I'd appreciate it if you subscribed. The very first thing that I did when I made it down was eat a bunch of this cheese in order to create a vertical slab. Priorities. I then headed over to this Mars rover type structure, and when I stood on the pressure plate, it summoned an absolute tangled mess of copper. And luckily amongst the copper spaghetti there was some loot, including water, dirt, saplings, and iron. But before I was able to put any of it to good use, I ate my way into a hole in the ground to hide for the night. And while I was cowering in my hole in fear, I was able to make full armor with some of the iron I found. I also found that I have a block of air that when I placed in it so I could breathe in this hole, but I planted a tree just to be safe. I was already heading back for more loot day 2 and I found ancient debris? What? Then I tentatively approached the space cows at nighttime to see if they would be hostile, and they weren't, so this is a huge win. The next day I tried to bridge with some gravel, and then I found a skulk catalyst, which is just awesome if I ever decide I want to die to the warden. I also crafted up a bed, but something tells me I shouldn't use it. And with nothing better to do, I went out for some more loot and was able to find another one of these things. I started looting it on day 4 and I had some insane luck today. I found diamonds, ancient debris, and villagers. What? Didn't even know you could get those. Oh, and not to mention this silk touch diamond pick. No big deal. I actually had so much good loot that by day 5 I had to start dyeing my shulker boxes just to stay organized. And I'm glad I did because I found this sick crater that I'm going to build my base at, and staying organized throughout this whole project is going to save me a ton of time. Day 6 I started phase 1 of the base, which is digging a hole in the ground that will eventually become an intricate series of tunnels. And I made sure to craft up and place some air so I can always breathe in my base. I started work on a farm day 7 and planted literally every single thing I own, including some trees that would go outside. I also captured this cow who I named MJ, and he is now my friend through Force. I wonder if you can pick up the subtle clues I've been laying about why he's named MJ. Day 8 I destroyed some ecosystems, but I totally made up for it by planting this oak tree. And something about this image doesn't look right, but I'm not sure what. I also started my human experiments on this villager. If he dies, he dies, but luckily he didn't. When I came back to give him a job, he was still alive. And at this point, nearly 10 days in, I was in desperate need of some storage, but because I'm poor and have no item frames, I just had to put the blocks on the ground in front of the chests. But because organizing storage is boring, I went out for a quick xenocide that night. The next day I was able to plant some sugarcane and some bamboo, and I also summoned some more villagers. I also tried to make a quick cow farm, but what? I can ride them? Why is this a feature? I tried to breed them while crouching and also while riding them, but nothing worked. The silver lining about not being able to breed the cows is it's a good opportunity to explain some weird quirks about this April Fool's update I'm playing. As you can see here, every few minutes, the game gives me a new vote on how I could change the game in some way. I've been ignoring them for this video, except for this one I applied before we started that allows me to breathe when I craft air on the moon. But apparently I can't read, and the byproduct of that is now I can ride cows. But I snapped back to reality day 11, and this toolsmith will now sell me diamond axes and shovels, and I also remembered that clocks exist. Day 12 I unlocked this man's pickaxe trade, and man, look at that thing. That's probably the best pickaxe I've ever seen from one of these guys. I of course had to go stick grinding real quick so I could make the purchase before he realized he was giving me way too good of a deal. I made sure to test out the pick by cobblestone mining the next day, and then I turned that cobble into regular stone, and then to moss, and then I grew a mega taiga tree on top of it to get some podzol. It took all of those steps to have enough dirt that on day 14 I was able to plant another wheat field underneath my other field of crops. Day 15 I was sick and tired of all of the ridiculous chores I have on the moon, so I decided to go out for even more loot. And you know what? I got some pretty decent loot actually. I got a diamond, I got a sniffer egg and cherry wood, and I even got an elytra? What? I didn't even know I could get those. And I didn't just get the one. I got 3 elytras today. I had good luck the next day too, finding yet another elytra as well as some ancient debris, and I was able to make it home before the end of the night. Once I made it home, I decided to organize my storage, and then I summoned and sacrificed these cows so I could turn their remains into some books, and that way I can acquire some librarian villagers, which we all know are just ridiculously OP. And that's what I did the next day, just roll for mending with my brand new librarian villager. Unfortunately, I had to pass up mending not once but twice, because I also needed him to sell me bookshelves, but eventually I did get the trade I wanted, and that means the sacrifice of those cows was totally worth it. Day 19, I accidentally flooded the wheat farm with water from the sugarcane farm while I was trying to plant more sugarcane, and somehow this lava lit me on fire with Bluetooth while I was trying to make more stone. This day has been a bit rough. But good things do happen though, and I was able to plant some more sugarcane and even get mending on my wings. I finally tried out the elytra the next day, and man, they are just terrible on the moon. So instead of the sky, I worked underground in this room that'll eventually be my villager breeder. Day 21, I very carefully put in the nuclear reactor that powers this whole operation, and then summoned my very own Adam and Eve, and man, they sure got to work quick, because I left for like 1 minute and there's already a kid in here. The collection's not even done. I also decided to test the elytra with some fireworks, and surprisingly, it worked pretty well. I finished up that collection system on day 22, and look at this, the little guy's already making friends. After that, I spent basically the rest of the day just on various chores. Day 23, I did some stig trading, and then I used those emeralds to level up a librarian, so he now sells me silk touch books too. I then spent the rest of the day AFK mining cobble with the F3 and T method. If you don't know this, you really should look it up, it's super useful. I can now buy name tags on day 24, and I used it to dub MJ Michael Jordan officially. I also started the big project of removing all of the cheese from this crater today, and it took me till well past noon the next day to get just the bottom layer done, and you can tell that I immediately got bored by how I went and traded with the armorer. But eventually I did get back on task and put some stone in the crater that I'll eventually turn to moss. And also I had to stop at the end of the night just to enjoy this awesome earth set. Day 26 I turned off the villager breeder so I wouldn't have to kill any more undesirables, and then I convinced this guy to sell me half diamond for like 40 emeralds. What? To celebrate, I acquired some more assets and then rolled for efficiency 4 without even really meaning to, and my luck with these villagers has been absolutely insane because I had Unbreaking 3 by the next day and was able to completely max out my elytra. This really was just a whole day of upgrades because I was able to get efficiency 4 and put it on my axe with Unbreaking 3, so now it's faster and more durable. I also made sure to test it out that day, and you may not be able to tell because you haven't been chopping trees for hours, but it's way better. Day 28, I tried to make a space cow farm to make up for my lack of a regular cow farm, but apparently I can ride these guys too, so I just murdered them all for taking up space and being useless. While I was outside, I started work on creating more stone, but apparently the water freezes here. I guess it makes sense because I am on the surface of the moon, but that's really annoying to be honest. More annoying than that though was this misclick on day 29, but at least my lava farm had produced more lava for me. I then spent the rest of the day forcing this stone to transition into some moss, and then I had the absolute greatest feeling in all of Minecraft when I brought the exact right amount of bone meal. Unfortunately, I had to go AFK for a bit, so I just left my guy mining some cobble. This continued through much of day 30 until I finally got back and used some water to clear the ugly grass texture that the moon has. Day 31 started with me going to the hat store really quick, and then I spent basically my life savings worth of sticks with this guy who must like whittling or something, and that way I had enough emeralds so I was finally able to buy a chestplate. Old diamond on day 31 really isn't bad, especially considering I reside on the moon. I also had enough spare change to level up this librarian. Holy crap, he sells me Fortune 3 now too. Someone needs to check my PC, this is way too lucky. But luck doesn't eliminate the grind, so I was back to mining up some of this cheese and also generating stone for the rest of the day. Day 32, I was wishing that the lava on the moon spread as fast as it did in the nether, but alas, it moves at the speed of molasses. Also, my notes say that I put mending on my axe, but I accidentally deleted the footage, so here's me chopping a tree instead. Day 33, my work ethic was at an all-time high because I farmed, I mined, and I even worked with some stone. And I'm just saying, a medieval peasant would be absolutely jealous of my many skills. And to be honest, they would be right to be, because the second layer is now stone when it was once cheese. But it didn't stay stone for long because I went straight to making it moss on day 34, and man, this is already looking really cool. But I decided it would be even cooler if I finally let Michael out of his hole in the ground and let him frolic on the luscious crater floor. And if I'm being honest, I was absolutely and completely right, because look at this, he absolutely is adding to this aura right now. Day 35, I decided to change the floor plan to my estate, and then I went to gather the resources so I could finally start to build it. And this build had me convinced that construction is clearly the easiest job in the world because I had the walls up in like 5 minutes flat. Work continued after a quick lunch break the next day, and I started to install the roof, which is simultaneously easier and more difficult in lunar gravity. But despite the weird gravity, I did get the roof finished, and I also made sure to add some lighting around the house so it wouldn't be super dark. Day 37, I kept up the converting because I absolutely need my entire base to be stoned, and I accidentally lit myself on fire here, which caused me to misclick. Wow, I think I'm done for the day. I came back with more lava the next day and actually managed to get a pretty decent look at what I'd built. I took a lot of inspiration for this build from Gemini Tay, by the way, so her channel will be in the description. That night, I planted a cherry tree and then got to work mossing once again, and somehow, I brought the exact right amount of bone meal once again. I put the cherry wood to good use day 39 by making it the floor of my house, and then I was able to craft up some air and install some absolutely lovely windows. Unfortunately, when I placed the air, nothing happened, and I was pretty sure either the space was too big or I got trolled by some slabs in the roof. So naturally, the next step was fill my entire house with cheese, and when I placed the air that time, it actually worked. Then I went outside and admired what I'd built so far, and I think I'm already starting to like this place. Day 40 started with gathering up as much food as physically possible. I even went to the bakery to get some cookies from this guy and force-fed this lamb steroids so I could devour his flesh later. And I made a table to celebrate Feast Day because if Luke the Notable has an idea, I have to copy it. But honestly, it was a super fun experience. I mean, look at all this food. That's really not half bad. I, of course, drank some water, and you probably should too. You're almost certainly dehydrated. And I took some time this feast day to enjoy feeding the poor. After my small donation to the plebs, it was off off to space to more fully appreciate my belongings. But out of nowhere, the Earth started abducting me. What is this? So I decided to briskly come back down to Luna and enjoy this beautiful feast day Earth set. After that wonderful experience yesterday, I decided to upgrade my pickaxe to try to make my labor less exhausting, but apparently this cheese is extremely resilient because it mines at the same speed with this efficiency 4 pickaxe as with my hand. So I dejectedly spent the rest of the day hand digging and also spreading around some lava. It's only day 42 and I already need another day off. My notes for this day say, and I quote, literally nothing interesting, and man, that was very accurate. I swear, it's legitimately harder to get back into doing what you were doing after a day off. Day 43, I remembered to breed my sheep and also realized that my house wasn't connected to the tunnels below, so I decided to do that today, but it really wasn't that big of a job, so it was already done by the end of the night. On the day that was my all-time favorite number as a kid, I decided to stop by the villagers and do a quick trading session, and this guy was extremely excited that I stopped by today. I then decided to use some of the glass I purchased for an igloo-looking habitat over my villager breeder, but I'm gonna be honest, I don't really like it. I'm gonna try to live with it for a few days to see if maybe it'll grow on me, but yeah, we'll see. Then it was back to the Gorgonzola mines, but I realized I was pretty close to some of the rooms I had dug out, so I took preventative measures day 45 by just kind of filling up some of these rooms, so hopefully I wouldn't suck the air in my base out to the vacuum of space while trying to landscape a nice lawn. I also decided that my house needs a painting, and I settled on this one that kind of reminds me of a sunset or something back on Earth. I was still home decorating on day 46, and oh, if my sink water is this color in real life, I'm pretty sure I would be in the emergency room. I also was an absolute buffoon this day and accidentally sucked all the air out of my house, so I had to fill the whole thing with Parmesan once again. The cheese did the trick though, and I was back to building the silly little sleeping bag on the floor that absolutely will not blow up if I accidentally misclick on it in a completely breathable atmosphere. And yeah, this place isn't looking half bad. Day 47, I decided that the igloo had lived for long enough, and then I accidentally let the air out of my base despite all the measures I took. Luckily, I was paranoid when I built this place because I have a ton of these airlocks, and it was able to fix the issue no problem. And that could have been a whole lot worse, so I just gratefully went back to mining. And I'm glad I did because day 48, it's done. 100% of the cheddar is completely out of the crater, so I went out for a little adventure as a treat. I made it to this base pretty quick, and man, these things are still freaking weird. But don't ever let anyone tell you that weird isn't good, because I found an absolute metric ton of loot, including this diamond. Day 49, I was still parkouring around this place looking for some more loot, and you sure won't hear this opinion from anyone else on the entire internet, but man, the inventory in this game can be a real kick in the butt. Day 50, I got as much loot as I could from this place, and they are absolutely loaded, but I also left as quick as I could so I could make it home by the end of the night so I could admire the beautiful work that we had done now that we're halfway through this challenge. And after stashing away everything I stole, right, I'm supposed to say found in those structures, I realized I needed to get back to work if I wanted to finish everything before the 100 days were up, and I made about the weirdest hotbar in the history of the world in order to do that more efficiently. I had a mild cardiac arrest on day 52 because I thought that this pyroclastic flow might wipe out Michael Jordan even harder than he wiped out the Jazz in that one NBA Finals game in 1998, but luckily the lava fell short and I was able to get back to spreading the water. And that experience must have stressed me out pretty bad because I wasn't recording for day 53 or 54, but I didn't realize till editing, so we're skipping straight to day 55. And yeah, if I'm being honest, the 2 days that didn't exist were probably more interesting than this one because all I did literally all day was grind, but I did get a ton of work done today. Work continued the next day where I instantly wasted this lava, but I also found out I can insta-mine ice with my pickaxe this day, and holy crap, this is gonna save me so much time. This is huge. And save me time it did, because day 57, it's done. I don't have to generate any more stone ever again. To celebrate, I tried to throw an ender eye, but unsurprisingly nothing happened. I also opened up my stats and was shocked to see that I've mined over 11,000 cheese, almost enough to feed a high school for a whole week, and 1,300 ice, which is just insane for day 57. Day 58, I got straight to spreading the moss, and it was surprisingly difficult to locate all of the little spots that I would miss, but I think I got it by the end of the day. And then I used some water to clear away all of the grass and moss carpets, you know, all the unwanted stuff. The flood continued on day 59, and this was a process that I honestly enjoyed more than I expected to. Like, it was pretty satisfying to clear away all the grass and moss carpet and stuff, and then I got to ride down the water like one of those log flume rides, and this was quite fun. Like, I could probably charge about $10 for this experience. I also got just the quickest look at the crater, and this thing's looking alien already. Day 60 was a productive one. I started with a quick chop and trade in the morning, and then I went around the crater putting lanterns under some moss carpet for some nice hidden lighting. I managed to get a better look at what I've been working on for the past 35 days, and I think the time I put into this has been well worth it. I also planted this small pumpkin patch to round out the night. Day 61, I fixed Michael's boat after it crashed into my house after the Great Flood, and then I got an aerial shot of the base, and man, this thing sticks out so much, like it could not look any different from the rest of the moon. Then I quickly did a bit of chopping, and then finally ate away this pillar that I used as a directional marker all the way back on day 5. Day 62, this pufferfish thought he was a sulfur cube because of the lunar gravity, and then I was able to go and trade with some villagers and even acquired a Protection 3 book. Doing this also made me remember that I could craft up an enchanting table and just make a whole room dedicated to getting good enchantments. By the end of the night, I was able to get good stuff on my chestplate and my leggings, so this is a huge win. The next day, I used the fish's body to brew a water-breathing potion to see if it would prevent me from suffocating out here on the moon. Unfortunately, it didn't, so I guess that fish just died for nothing. But at least my pumpkins grew, so now I can build a project that I've been thinking about for a very long time. It's a basketball hoop. It's a little bit scuffed, but at least Michael can get some reps in. A stack of days in, and I finally have a decent helmet, and then I put my focus to making the basketball hoop look less chopped, and yeah, I think I did an okay job. This is at least better than the old design, and then I couldn't resist eating a month-old pie, and I slammed the whole thing that night. Day 65 started by paving over this little crater that's been next to mine and bothering me for a little bit, and then I tried to get a nice bow, but got Unbreaking 3. Luckily, I have some protection books from villagers, so I don't have to rely entirely on the degenerate gambler technique for my armor, and then I rolled the dice once again on the bow and got just infinity. The enchanting table literally gives me so much pain. Like, I didn't need anything good. I would have taken, like, power 2. I'm on the moon. There's nothing hostile here. But no matter what, every single time, I just get the one enchantment it shows me. I had to restart the villager breeder just to lift my spirits. Day 66, I decided the base needed more flora, so I planted this azalea tree, but I did not like it, so I chopped it down nearly immediately. And then when I tried to go inside my house, I messed up the air, which was a massive pain, but I discovered that I can fix the air by just opening the trapdoor in the corner. That was awesome because I don't have to fill my house with cheese whiz yet again. I then tried planting some spruce trees in place of the azalea trees and actually liked it so much more that I used literally all of my bone meal on making this spruce grow. So it was off to adventure for bone meal of all things. I didn't find anything until well past noon the next day, but it's okay because literally everything I can get from here, I can only get from here, so any amount of time spent looting is totally worth it, especially when the loot that I find is as nice as ancient debris. Day 68, I enjoyed not having to fear the day number, unlike some other days nearby that I will not mention, and then I got to the looting of this place, and I was even able to find another one so close that it could completely overtake me while I was standing in the original one. I ran through it pretty quick, but didn't get an insane amount of stuff. That's because I wanted to make it home the next day to be a responsible parent. I also turned off the villager breeder because these guys obviously don't know how to stop, because it's getting to be like a daycare in here, and wow, this inventory would make Mr. Beast quake in fear. It took me quite a while to organize, because literally nothing from these places is trash, so I smelted my ancient debris in the meantime. Day 70 started with a little bit of deforestation before I went to craft up my netherite, and then I got absolutely scammed because I can't even put it into the smithing table. I legitimately thought that the game might be bugged, so I crafted up a whole new smithing table, but got the exact same result. Apparently this update released after they added the netherite upgrade template, which by the way is one of my least favorite items in the game, but now all the netherite I find is essentially useless, and they just put it in the loot table to bully me. I traded with the cartographer to try to fill the void in my heart that was left by not having any netherite equipment, and now I'm just mapping out the base. Day 71, I chopped some trees because I was hoping to buy some item frames from some cartographers due to my lack of leather, but neither of them had the trade, so I executed them in the only way that seemed humane enough for someone that annoying. I had to restart the villager breeder because my population policy led to population decline. Who could have seen this one coming? And then I had to sacrifice some of the cows that I looted earlier just for their leather. I decided that I hadn't had enough tragedy for one day though and had to go kill Michael Jordan on the basketball court. But if I'm being honest, playing basketball in this lunar gravity had quite the learning curve. Like I legitimately probably would have lost to this space cow if he wasn't chained down to that post. I did eventually get the hang of it though, and honestly it was kind of a blast to just take some time and play a silly game of pickup basketball against a space cow. Also, look at how well my basketball storage blends into the rest of the yard. That basketball game must have put me in a silly, goofy mood, because I went and hit this quintuple Neo, and I don't know why people say this is hard. It was pretty easy for me. Day 72, I stopped messing around so much and put the map that I made on display right next to the basketball hoop. I then decided to fly to a nearby crater to run some experiments. I have legitimately no clue if the bottom of this world is an endless void, or if it's bedrock, and I wanted to find out before it became a problem. Turns out there is bedrock, but it's at Y level 5 for some reason, and then I got distracted by this view of my base from this mega taiga tree. Day 73, I traded away that tree I was standing on for some emeralds, and then I hit this real quick vertical Neo, no problem, easy dubs. I also decided that it was finally time to craft up an enchanted diamond sword, and I'm actually quite happy with getting smite on this one. I also decided that my OG pick that I found on day 4 deserved to be retired and hung on the wall in my house. On day 74, I bone mealed up some flowers in my storage room before running around the crater placing them aimlessly, trying to make the place just feel like less sterile. I then got scammed by the enchanting table once again and had to pee in real life, so I decided to go AFK in my kitchen sink. Day 75, I got a brand new Fletcher, but he must have been born yesterday because he nearly doubled his prices after one set of trades. Yeah, I ain't falling for that one, buddy. I also was finally able to get a decent bow and began burying spore blossoms around the joint just so I could get those particles, because I think it's a really nice effect. They're pretty subtle, but you'll definitely notice them if you keep an eye out. Then I started digging this mysterious tunnel at bedrock, but I'll cut the crap. The reason I wanted a good bow and the reason that I'm digging this tunnel is because I checked the Minecraft wiki and apparently you can get wither skeleton skulls from those lunar bases, and I've decided I'm going to fight them. I also noticed it was super bright in here for being a tunnel at bedrock with no light sources, so I thought maybe I had a full bright texture pack on or something by accident, but no, the moon is just like that. I headed out in hopes of finding the skulls on day 76, and I went straight to standing on a button? What? This isn't a normal feature, right? Like, this has to be a weird quirk of living on the moon. Like, I swear I've literally never seen this before. Like, my hitbox is not on that block at all. So I decided to flee that cursed location as quickly as possible. Day 77, I did a bit of looting before finding some old bases that I had apparently been to before, which was kind of cool, and then I found this rover that looked like it didn't generate properly. To my absolute and utter surprise, when I crafted up my own gold pressure plate and tried to see if that would work, it somehow did. I really do not understand how these things work at all. After my work fixing the place up, it rewarded me with some okay stuff, but not the wither skeleton skulls. After a quick bit of organizing day 78, the looting continued, but not for too long because I had to stock up on more cheese because I have to eat it to not suffocate out here, and I've been marking chests I've looted with it. After stocking up on the provolone, I found this rover with scuffed lighting, and I kind of feel like I'm in Minecraft 1.0. I also found some more pearls, which kind of annoyed me because the odds of finding the skulls is 1 in 116 of these shulkers, but the pearls is 1 in 58, and I found the pearls about 6 times, and I haven't found the skulls at all. I found another one of these rovers with broken generation on day 79, and it's almost like Mojang didn't work as hard to bug test this April Fool's update or something. I also wanted to check my stats today, and I've opened nearly 1,600 shulkers. Even if 85% of that was just me organizing and stuff, I would have been expected to get it twice already. But wallowing about the skulls won't help me find them, so it was back to searching. I must have been extremely locked in on the looting though, because the files for both day 79 and day 80 are 40 minutes each, which means technically they're 2 days each, but I guess it makes up for days 53 and 54. Day 81, I made it to yet another one of these with only 1 rocket left, but the grind continues until I decided to check my stats once again, and bruh, I've opened like 150 shulkers in 2 days. This, mixed with my complete lack of fireworks, made me decide to go home, unfortunately using the Heal and Tow Express. But I did make it back, and I organized this absolutely insane amount of loot before spending some good quality time with MJ. Day 82, I started constructing my beacon, and I wanted the outside to be gold, so I threw some emerald and iron blocks in that inside. It's actually crazy that I had this much gold just from looting, but this was kind of sad. It kind of reminded me of that meme that's like, this is where I would put my beacon if I had one. So I moved on to bone mealing this nylium for some fungus and then chopping down these warped trees. I also made sure to collect the warped wart because I wanted to use it for a new project I was going to start. Day 83, I collected more of these warped blocks, and then I was able to completely finish the ocean of the earth that I'm making. I used some moss carpets to create the continents, and oh yeah, I really like this addition. I also realized that I could easily hide some lights under the moss, and then I filled in this nearby crater so it wouldn't detract from the beauty of my earth. And look at how sick it looks on the map. Like, I really like this addition. I'm so happy I made it. It almost looks like it's orbiting my base or something. Day 84, I realized that Michael has never been to Earth, so I took him on a quick field trip there, and it seemed like he couldn't even process what was going on. After the fun on the Earth, I spawned in a new slave in my basement who will infinitely produce some snow for me. And why would I need snow? For this completely normal and not at all weird room in my basement. And I mean, come on, just look at it. Doesn't this place look cozy? Next day, I sold some more sticks to this guy, literally just for the XP to fix up my elytra, and then I crafted up some more rockets. Then I stood in my brand new basement, hyping myself up to go get those wither skeleton skulls, and I built this place because I figured if I come back without the skulls, I'm gonna need to live in a padded cell full time. So I headed off, completely certain that I must find those skulls, and I was even able to find a brand new base before the end of the night. I didn't do much looting before having a problem on day 86. What is this? I've never seen my F3 screen look like this before. I spent quite a while trying to fix this, but wasn't able to before I found this base that was even more scuffed than my F3 screen. I tried the good old pressure plate method again, but it didn't fix it, but I did somehow fix my F3 screen. I'm still really not sure what I did, but it's better now. I did find a not scuffed base, but I decided I had to do a quick art project before going in. If you can't tell, I was getting a little bit desperate at this point. Day 87, I absolutely speedran this entire structure. I also absolutely missed at least half of the loot, but it's okay because I found 3 more right by each other, and I just don't like staying in one place for too long. It feels bad, even when my loot is as terrible as this. Like, seriously? Come on, man. That's not even fair. Like, what is this shoulder? Here is everything that happened in the entirety of day 88 in about 4 freaking seconds. The only thing I had from day 89 was this kind of laggy clip, so I think the recording crashed or something. Day 90, I got briefly trolled by this soul sand, and then... Yes! Oh my gosh. Whew. I'm going home. I'm going home. So go home is exactly what I did, but on the way back I found something I didn't expect. I found the structure that I looted all the way back on day 1, and there was even this stick on the ground that hadn't despawned. I checked out my panic hole, and it made me reflect on just how far I've come. And yet, even still, a lot of my base still looks a lot like this. Day 91, I made it back home, and I named the day 1 stick. I know it's just a stick, but something about finding a piece of day 1 on day 90 felt pretty special. Of course, I had a ton of organizing to do, and while I was doing so, I realized that I found nearly a stack of villager spawn eggs while trying to get this goal, so that's just ridiculous. I also checked the wiki for all the rarest things from the lunar bases, and of the 23 things with a 1 in 232 spawn rate, the skulls were quite literally the last one I found, which is just sensational. So I decided to end it all. No, I'm just kidding. I was testing the blast resistance of this cheese, and unsurprisingly, it's not blast resistant at all. It was chores day 92. I took out all the trees in the tree farm, as well as this pillar that I'd been using to get up and down for the whole 100 days. Then I flexed on the Wither by forcing him to spend time in the insane asylum in my place, and I also fixed this one block that's been bothering me forever. I also went out of my way to craft up the netherite despite it being completely useless. Scratch that, I actually used some of the netherite to make a lodestone day 93, and I felt like it'd be fitting by the map. I also used the rest of my netherite to make a block that my future beacon will reside on. Next on the list for today was to make some concrete so I could make a green screen room, because as much as I love my version of the Earth, I want to be able to go to the real one whenever I want to. I also posed in my armor stand, and wow, that is cursed. I am become pants. And at the end of the night, I managed to plant my sniffer eggs. Day 94, and this guy is already starting to crack, and I also wanted to connect the parkour area to the tunnel systems. Wow, my sniffers are already sentient. Unfortunately, I am not sentient because I forgot to put air in the tunnels before I dug the whole thing, so now I have to go through and put barriers about every 10 blocks so I can slowly let air in one section at a time. Luckily, the strategy worked and it didn't actually take that long to fix. Day 95, I realized that Michael is injured. That's probably why I was able to beat him in our last pickup game, so I got the supplies for a regen potion. I absolutely thought that I missed him here because I forgot it would throw with lunar gravity, but he is actually back to full health. Yay! Day 96, I grabbed a whole bunch more of these flowers to spam around the crater, and I also buried some more of these spore blossoms because I absolutely love the effect. I then visited the neglected sheep, of course only because I needed something, and the thing I needed was some wool for a banner. I thought it would be fun to pay homage to the Apollo 11 mission by making a US flag to plant on the surface. Day 97, I immediately redid the flag because I did it backwards apparently. Then I officially dubbed it and my crater Tranquility Base, both to commemorate my time here on the moon, and more importantly to honor those who did it for real. Plus, it's just an extremely fitting name, as I tried to make my base a serene escape from the rest of the moon. The banner also gave me another idea, so I leveled up this cartographer to max, so he now sells me the globe banner pack. I quickly added it to my shield, so now no matter what, wherever I am, I always have a reminder of home. Day 98, I discovered that my aesthetic mushrooms were becoming a problem, and then I chained my sniffers down to some buried fences because they keep running away. I also love how hard it is to tell that he's imprisoned here. After that, I placed some conduits that I had made in the Room of Insanity because they serve literally no purpose on the moon, and then I started making a parkour course. The lunar gravity made it laughably easy though, so I decided to eat my blocks until they were 1/8 of the size they usually would be, and that made it quite a bit more fun, to be honest with you. Day 99, I got some goat milk, and then I brewed some potions that would enhance my abilities before going around the base hoping that I wasn't saying my final goodbyes. Really, regardless of the outcome of my fight with the Wither, I'm quite proud of what I've done so far this video. I mean, we've made a ton of cool stuff, and I should be fine. Usually I'm not scared of the Wither at all, but I'm also not used to hardcore mode, so I would be lying if I didn't say I was a little bit nervous. But the best way to overcome a fear is to face it, so I headed off for my final battle. As soon as the Wither had free will, he left the confines of my convenient little shooting range I made him, so I just decided to go on in, man on man, one on one, a full-on melee fight to see who is stronger. I knew that my entire world was on the line, so I had to lock in. I started to put in the pain, and finally, I vanquished the Wither. I of course collected his nether star and made my beacon right there on the battlefield. I rushed it right back home to Tranquility Base, and finally, the beacon is lit. I tested out my new powers, and the frickin' cheese still mines at the same speed even with haste too. But on the bright side, I can now jump 11 blocks. I decided to set the permanent powers as speed and regeneration, so now air is completely irrelevant as I heal faster than I suffocate. If that's not defeating the moon, I don't know what is. I had to get one final game of pickup basketball in with Michael Jordan, and then I spent the rest of the day admiring what I had built before watching the earth set over my base for one final time. And that was the video, folks. If you're still around, first of all, that's crazy. And second of all, that means that you either liked or hated this video enough to spend a whole half an hour with me. And regardless of which of those is true, I think that you should take a nap on the subscribe button and maybe even send this video to your crush. I think they would like that quite a bit. This was my first attempt at one of these, and I enjoyed the whole process and have a lot more ideas, so there will be more coming. And I'm sure the next one will be even better. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.